Hello and welcome to All For United WFC.
Good evening and welcome to the AFU WFC show. Delighted tonight to be joined by three fantastic guests. I've got Natalie first up. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Excited to talk about this.
Good stuff. Anthony, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. Back to Tuesday night, which is good. You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, pal. Back at school now as well. Actually, in for the first day today, so it's
must have been hard.
Not really, just tired, and it's a long time till Christmas now as well. We've got like 7 weeks or something. So
yeah, that's what I like about Christmas. I get like 2 weeks off Christmas.
Yep. And I was going to ask how Gareth is, but he's disappeared on me, so never mind. Tonight's show, then, obviously, we're going to do a little bit slightly different. We're going to not go too much into Man United women. We're going to talk about the Championship, the results there. People obviously, are saying things about who they thought was, going to be top, who's not top. Get into the results. Like I say, we'll discuss that. We'll also get into the FA Cup semi-finals. The attendance is there, both being pretty similar, just over 1.3k. The atmosphere at both games as well, because personally I thought it was absolutely woeful. And then we'll do a little bit, like I say, to finish on Spurs, but not too much. John's disappeared for his chicken nuggets, but good evening to everybody else. So we'll get straight into it then. I'll start with the Championship. Obviously, Sunday then, everybody played and we saw Watford pick up a point for the first time. We saw Durham extend the lead at the top. Liverpool picked up points. Blackburn won. Sunderland continued their good form as well. Watford, as I mentioned, got the first point, and Bristol got a very, very big win. One that actually sort of surprised me, the margin of scoreline. But I'm going to start with you, Natalie, because obviously you were at Bristol and Sheffield. Do you want to just talk me through that then? I mean, like I say, for me personally, I was surprised it was 5, but obviously you were there. So do you want to just go through that game?
I was surprised it was 5, especially the way that Sheffield started. I think, a name that we mentioned, a name that we're going to mention on a lot of this channel, so definitely watch out. Lucy Watson, top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer with Leanne Keenan. I think she got 2. I don't even know about Liverpool players, but yeah, Lucy Watson, 17 years old. I think she got 5 goals for Sheffield so far, and she's smashing it in the Championship. Started the scoring, and you thought, right, here we go, Sheffield, strong team, a team that I sort of expected to be up there, and then it just fell apart for them, really. It was a Palmer ball, Palmer corner, 1-1, Palmer's volley, 2-1, and then after that, second half, Bristol just came out and just carried on their dominance, and it was surprising to see because, Sheffield, that team's been together a long time. I thought that's what would keep them. That's why they would go up in a way. That's why they'd be top, because I think a lot of teams are starting to gel or finding it difficult. And I thought this would be when Sheffield would find their dominance. But, it's, Bristol are a full-time team. Obviously, they train probably more than Sheffield. They're fully professional. So, maybe you could say that was the reason. But no, I think Sheffield looked good. It's just that when it came to the final moment, getting the goals, Bristol put them away and Sheffield didn't. And Sheffield looked very shaky at the back. I know they had a lot of players out. Fran Kitchen usually plays in goal. And no offense to Nina, obviously she was her first start. Tara back in defence after being out or being moved about for a bit. So maybe that's what it was. But it just... they didn't look like the Sheffield that I've been watching for years and years, and I'm sure Neil will be looking to improve on that. They'll need to, really, and because they started well, and now they're on a sort of downward spiral. It looks like.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously looking at the table now, they're down in 7th. And I think for me, they started slow. Then they seemed to pick it up, didn't they? They were sort of around the top and then they've faded off. Obviously, consistency we know is key, especially in the Championship. It's that competitive that most teams can beat sort of each other on the day. But do you think maybe Wardy leaving then had a bigger impact than people realise? Because I know this is your chance. I know you don't need one anyway, but to big up Carla. And the only reason I asked, because me and Benny, we were obviously at Blackburn when you were down there, and he said, my day, he said it's 5-1. And he said, they missed Carla Ward, and, she was very close on more than one occasion to promotion. But do you think that's, a bigger factor than maybe people let on or admit?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, everyone knows what I think of Carla, knows how I view her as a manager. I think Neil's done a good job, though. Like, I think he's brought in good players. But if you look at the players like Lucy Watson, it was Carla that brought her in, Like I said, Fran is good, Courtney Sweeten-Kirk good. But, the shining stars of the team are Watson. And a lot of them players are still Wardy's players, you know what I mean? And I think he's got them sort of playing the way he wants them, Neil, so he can't really say. I think injuries has had and then, you know what, actually, and COVID, because I just think with what's going on and the pandemic, it's not helped anyone. Probably last year, this and that, and I think everyone team has like the spikes and has their injuries. So I think they're just sort of going through a bad patch, because I mean, when they were at the top, it was Rima, Lauren Mears, another one that Carla brought in, that it was shining, was doing it in the 10 role, was creating a lot of chances, because that's what I think they missed. They had sort of the dominance of the ball, like building up from the back, but then there was no one there in the middle. And I know Rich Leverty bangs on about Bex Rayner, and I think she's a good player, but I just think Rima's that class above. And, you can just tell there was something missing there on Sunday, so they're definitely missing her. But yeah, everyone knows about Wardy. I think it was, whether it was a mutual thing or as a Sheffield, I don't know fully, because you hear those different reports. But, Wardy's at Villa. Villa are doing decent. They're high up the table. I'm not sure Wardy will take a step back to the Championship at the minute. And I just think as well, they lost a lot of their players. Nom left, Wilco left, Natalie Johnson left. So all these, even Mel Johnson, who then scored against them, she left. And that was one that Wardy brought in. So, Neil, I think he's got his players there. I think he's got players that want to play for Sheffield. I know they've made it very, it's different from when me and Ben went there to now. It's a lot more professional now. But yeah, Wardy will always be a miss for any team, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just interesting because looking, obviously, they've won as many as they've lost, and then they've got 10 goals for and 10 goals against. So like I say, sort of inconsistency. And obviously looking at it now, I mean, in terms of promotion challenge, obviously never say never, but eight points behind, it's an ask, isn't it, to be fair? I know it's only November, but Anthony, I'm going to come to you then. Obviously looking at results from the weekend, is there any that maybe stick out for you, or anything you want to discuss, or anything that maybe shocked you, or take it away?
I know we go on about Watford getting their first point, but if you look at it, it could have been a slight shock. But overall, I don't really think there was any really shock results. Like, I've just looked at the table, and between third and 10th is like a 4-point gap. It's that tight that if anyone goes on an amazing run, then from third to 10th, I know it's only one that goes up, which doesn't help the Championship teams, especially Durham, because Durham, they're always up there, but they don't quite get over the line. I wouldn't say there was any real shocks, really, because of obviously the nature of it being so tight. Like Charlton and that weren't really short, and you got Coventry, Blackburn. Blackburn won that, but expected to win it. Durham and London City Lions, they're both close to each other, so No, in terms of the table and results and that, not really. Watford will hope to kick on, but it's like you said with the points gap. 8 points is quite a big gap to claw already. So it's a bit like Birmingham in the WSL. It's hard to find where they're going to pick up enough points.
Yeah,
to scrape from safety. Now I haven't seen much of Watford, but I did see them in the before they got promoted against Crawley Wasps last season, and Crawley Wasps won that game. So I just generally think they probably don't have the squad to stay up, unfortunately. And if I'm right to believe, they didn't come up through merit, did they? They applied for it? Was that right, or have I just made that up?
No, I think they applied for it. I think you're right there because obviously the third tier was a mess, wasn't it? And everybody applied to because obviously they came up with Sunderland, didn't they? They picked one from the north and one from the south.
Yeah. But no, but what your question? No, not really. I'd say results could go either way with most of the games. So to answer your question simply, not really, I would say.
I was going to say, though, could we maybe give Watford credit for coming back? Because obviously they were 2-0 down and then they scored goals. I think it was about roughly the 78th minute from when I looked at it. So I suppose to be fair to them, okay, we talk about,
Oh, yeah, definitely. If 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go is great. Anyone coming back from 2-0 is great. Fortunately, United seem to do it a lot in the men's game at the moment, which isn't good for us. But talking about teams that are 2-0 down, Brighton come back from 2-0 down. So, 2-0 down, they'll be spirited thinking, because they must have thought, oh, here we go again, no points. But to get back from 2-0 down, especially with so little to go, they would have been pleased overall.
I mean, I saw the highlights of that, and like Palace looked dominant. And I've seen Palace play Cov and Palace are well drilled. I think even when we played them in the Championship, they were sort of well drilled, but I think they're even sort of more the adding to it, making it more professional. GPS tracking, all that when they're finishing, they got good players, Millie Farrow and all that kind of thing. So they looked good, when I've seen them, and obviously then they went 2-0 up. You'd think that's it. They're gonna kind of see it out, and like you say, Watford will see that as massive, that point, because like I said, Palace good side, they're doing bits, and that would be massive for them to get that first point. And it was at home, and you could hear the noise when they scored the goals, and then they nearly won it, to be honest, at the end. So they'll be confident now going into next game.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially obviously with, Coventry, when they look like they pulled it back, then lost and didn't pick up any points. I'm sure that's also giving them a little bit of belief. Gareth, I'm going to sort of come on to you then, and I want to discuss Sunderland, because obviously Coventry versus Sunderland was the first game of the season, and for me, we said it at the time, and in fact, good time in here from John. For me, I was, and this is going to sound harsh, but I was quite surprised, how well they're still doing, Sunderland, absolutely, for me anyway, flying. I don't think anybody would have had them up in fifth after 7 games. And that's a credit to them. And I did actually say after that game, remember the conversation with John actually, and sort of saying, fair play, your team looks organised and they've worked hard, and they beat Coventry, and everybody expected them to get turned over. But what are your thoughts, obviously, then on them? And obviously, if you want to go into another result from the weekend, by all means. Yeah,
I'll get to Sunderland in a second. I just want to kind of touch on what Anthony said about Watford not coming up on merit. I don't think that's fair. In the 1920 season, they were second in the league. And in the last season, they were top of their league. So, I think over the course of the last 2 years, when the National League had been curtailed, they were the best side in that division and did deserve to come up.
Yes, what John's just said, isn't he?
Yeah, likewise with Sunderland. I think Sunderland over the last 2 years have been the best side in the National League North, and again, they deserve to come up. I think there are two teams kind of looking at that table now where I think you're not where I expected you to be. And those two sides are Sunderland and Coventry. I think when you look at the table, how it is now, you can kind of lump it into three different groups. In your group going for promotion, you've got Durham, Liverpool, London City Lionesses, and Charlton just about clinging on in there. I think it's probably going to. I think if anybody finishes above Durham, they'll win the title. I think Durham will be in those first two slots easily. It's now down. Can Liverpool, can LCL, kind of chip them away and win promotion? Because Durham were no slouches when we were in the Championship, and year on year they've been getting gradually better and better. The year Villa came up, they finished third. Last year when Leicester came up, they finished second. And I reckon probably now, this year, they're going to go one better and win it. You then look at the bottom of the table, you've got Watford and Coventry are down there. And, I think they're going to be scrappy for a while. We're a third of the way through the season now. And for neither of those sides to have picked up a win yet is pretty difficult to see kind of how they can not turn it around completely, but people at the start of the season thought Coventry may be outsiders for pushing towards the top. I think that's going to happen now. I think their hope is that they get a win, and once they've kind of got that win, things click and they start rolling and they can just pull themselves up towards mid-table. But the rest of the sides, Sunderland, Bristol, Sheffield, Lewis, Palace and Blackburn, I think they're going to be pretty comfortable staying in the division based on the start they've had. And for the majority of those clubs, that was kind of what we expected. We didn't expect Bristol to go down, then challenge for the title straight away and come back up. When we had Shahan on the show, he said pretty much the same thing, that they're going to go down and kind of reset and then maybe go for it again next year, similar to what Liverpool are doing now. Sunderland are the side in there which surprises me, because I thought it was going to be either them or Watford, the two sides that kind of scrapped it around for those bottom few places, maybe with Palace and Blackburn as well. But I expected them to kind of be down in that sort of bottom quarter, bottom third. But that's not the case. They seem pretty comfortable. This is definitely the level they deserve to be playing at. They've come up based on merit. And I think what this kind of goes to show is that we've said it so many times. We said it when James was on the show the other week, last week, that we need more teams coming up from the third tier, because teams are coming up and, Watford are struggling at the moment, but Sunderland have really settled in and are playing really well. And, London Bees have gone down and they're not playing well. They're struggling down in the third tier. So I think it just goes to show that we need those teams coming up and going down, because they are really adding something to this division and they're great to watch. They're a well-organised, well-drilled side. And they've gone to show that actually that game against Coventry wasn't a fluke. They were the better side. They've been the better side over the last 7 games. And they're absolutely where they deserve to be based on merit. And, I think that can be said for a lot of clubs. And it just shows how competitive that league is. And, we've got, I think, now 3 clear groups, and Sunderland have found themselves in one of the more comfortable ones, which I don't think they would probably have expected at the start of the season. I mean, John can probably attest to that in the comments, but they're flying and well deserved.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you say, I think spot on with pretty much everything there. Just before I'll go into London City Lionesses. I'll let you talk about that, Nat, and then we'll go into Team of the Week before moving on. But LCL obviously sat in third. There's been quite a bit of change there. I look at sort of the managerial position and things have been up and down, but yet they're sat in third, pushing the top 2 teams. What do you think about them then? You're on mute.
They're sat in third, 4 wins. I think they beat Liverpool recently, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they've taken...
First game of the season, I think.
Yeah. But, they got the wins when they needed. I think a lot of people with London City Lionesses, they went full-time professional. I mean, yes, they don't have, the big-name star players. Coventry have gone professional and added, Molly and Wilco and, top players in the Championship, really. Whereas London City have done it based on Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the sirens. Like I said, living in Salford. They've done it, but brought in like the younger players, and you know they got a new coach this year, and it was sort of you know, maybe not one that we were expecting, you know, a lower, you know, unheard of kind of name, you know, whereas Liverpool, Matt Beard, this kind of level. And I just think this is what they'll be doing. They'll be looking to regroup, build up slowly, you know, take their time, not rush it and have to get promoted straight away. You know, that backing is going to be there for them, I think, definitely. Jamie Lee Napier, good addition. Thanks, Gareth. But you know they're doing well, and I think for a full-time team that have been together a long time, like I said about Sheffield, they've been together a long time, that group. So even though they're not full-time, you can still tell like it's drilled into them. And then when sort of Gareth is talking about Sunderland, you know, I saw a friendly before. Pre-season friendly, Sheffield and Sunderland, and sort of I thought you could tell the difference, but Sunderland did still push to the end against Sheffield, and then now to see them flying and maybe Sheffield not doing as well, you know, it's great that the girls at Sunderland keep driving forward. But in terms of London City, yeah, I think they can't be sort of ruled out completely. You know, they're still in and around, and you know, whether it's this year or next year, they will be, you know, aiming to be in the WSL sooner rather than later, I'm guessing. And maybe he'll just take that little tiny bit more of investment, because it might not happen this year. I think we sort of, you know, Durham are that team, and I agree with Gareth, whoever finishes above them will win it. And I think for me, Durham will get promoted because, I mean, it might be Liverpool, but I think it will be Durham because I just think they're consistent. They're used to this level. They know what is coming. I think Liverpool, yeah, they are class players, but you know, Durham are used to this level, and I think that'll stand them in good stead.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm just looking here now at the team in the week, and obviously it starts and goal with Borthwick of Durham. You've got Holmes, McCarthy, Murray, and Taylor Hines as your back four. You've got a midfield of Logan from Lewis, Blanchard, and Amy Palmer. And then you've got Abby Harrison, Saffron Jordan, and Leanne Kern as your front three. But it's interesting we talk about these other teams because when I look at the team of the week, for me, most weeks, it's quite mixed. You know, like, for example, you've got the likes of two Blackburn players in there. But yeah, you know, obviously you look at Blackburn in the league table and they're sort of down towards the bottom. So I think it's interesting. The championship for me this year has been, you know, we talked about, didn't we? All of us actually, since we left in 18-19, that, you know, it will get better. And I think, you know, again, like I say, looking at team of the week, and that was the full-time FAWSL that put that out. It is getting very sort of competitive. Going to move on. And I'm going to talk about, and I'll start with you on this, Anthony, FA Cup semi-finals. 2 games over the weekend. There was a win for Arsenal and a win for Chelsea. For me, disappointingly, and I know others have talked about this as well, just over 1.3k of both matches. Now, for a semi-final, you know, I'm not being funny, that's appalling. And, you know, I've seen journalists somehow, and I don't know how, defend it. Oh, it's on telly, oh, it's cold, oh, it's COVID, you know. It just, I can't sit there and defend that. But what do you think? I mean, we'll get onto atmosphere because that was even worse. We'll get into atmosphere shortly, but 1.3k. And I'll put this to you as well. I saw, and I can't think who it was, a journalist say, it's about time it went to a neutral ground. I think Reading was suggested for the Arsenal game. And I think they said somewhere in the Midlands for Man City and Chelsea. But go on, Anthony, take it away with that and then attendances.
Yeah, no, you make good points. Like I said to you, I was watching the games and I was thinking, when they show the crowd, there's so many empty seats. And I thought, I was like to you, blimey, it's a semi-final. Like, you'd think if they were proper fat, well, we know City struggle to fill up stadium anyway, regardless. But you'd think if they're a proper team with proper fans, they'd be well up for it. You'd have the place rocking, egging your team on as much as you can do, being that 12th man, woman player that our women talk about, because they always mention it. And I like it when they do the conferences, they do the little chat because the woman at the end always asks she always asks that same question, and they always say yes, they bring that extra 10% to us. And you'd think, especially with a semi-final, you'd think, yeah, we want to egg them on, make them try and work a bit hard, like give them that support. So it's crazy. I don't know why it's empty, so empty. I don't. The TV excuse is poor. The Man United, Man City was on TV, but you look at Lee, and it was great. I know you get some Twitter warriors on Twitter. Like I had some bloke, he was trying to say that all you could hear was the City fans. I was like, well, I was thinking, well, I know what we're like. So the only thing you must have heard was the drumming us out. If you could hear all the City fans, because I certainly couldn't when I managed to get back and watch it. But are we going into atmosphere as well?
We'll do that in a little bit. I think Gareth is just going to jump on this unless you've still got a...
No. That's pretty much what I've said what I've had to say. Paul.
I think what we see with the women's game is that the fan bases are fair weather fan bases. If you think back to that game we had against City, it was a nice day. It was pretty warm. We were kind of debating whether we're going to wear shorts or jeans, and it wasn't like nice weather. This weekend was absolutely miserable. So any of those fans that were kind of thinking, should we go, should we not, just won't have gone. And we've seen that year on year on year, and it's the same every single year. So when we get to kind of November, December, January, attendances just drop off a cliff everywhere. We us and Chelsea generally have been the two where it's remained pretty constant, but other clubs, it generally kind of just drops off a cliff. And I think a lot of it is potentially to do with the fact that if you look at the kind of average attendance, there's a lot of families there, a lot of people sort of taking younger kids, and some parents may not want to take the kids out if it's absolutely lashing it down for everyone to get soaked, wet, cold. They're valid enough reasons to kind of not go to games. But like you say, it's a semi-final, and yeah, it is still disappointing. But I do just kind of think that the core fan base of the women's game is kind of often made up more of families and those that will go out when it's nice weather. And I think this could lead to kind of a potential bigger discussion on whether the kind of summer league should come back and it should run over from like March through to October, because that was a great time when that was the case. But yeah, I kind of think that's probably why we saw the attendances drop. I think a lot of fans, I think Emma Sanders said something similar on Twitter as well. I think a lot of the fans are going to be kind of families, and when the weather is that miserable and you could just watch it on TV and support the team that way, then that may have just kind of been seen as a slightly better alternative, which, it is disappointing to see that. But I just think that's the way it is at the moment. And hopefully the Euros will change it next year. But I'll let Nat jump in now.
Listen, it's not going to change it. We've seen it with the World Cup, with the Euros, with with selling out Wembley. Nothing's ever going to change. Like you said, it's the fair weather fan that won't come out when it's cold and rainy. And yeah, there's room for these people at games. And it's something that I've always said. It's time now, away ends. I think Chelsea fans have always called for it. We've always called for it. At LSV, it happened, so City were put in that corner. You talked about that attendance and about how some people sort of defended it, make excuses, saying the weather and all this. We've been going since 2018. Yeah, it might not be a thingy, but, listen, look at that poor stewarding and all this. You're not sort of helped, you're not sort of guided. I think sort of I heard things about when people went to Durham and they weren't sort of told where toilets were, stuff like that. But I think with us that go, I know John's saying as a neutral and all this, but I mean, I'm not gone as a neutral to City, but as a neutral, I went down to Bristol. I'm a neutral and I'm going down to Bristol. And yes, I have some affiliation to some people, but I think I'm a dedicated fan. And I think we need to start moving away from let's do it like this and, oh, it's cold outside, and start saying, right, it's not good enough. These girls, they're out there, they're giving everything. We want sort of parity, equality, everything that we talk about. So they need the attendance, and whether it's like building up core fan bases like we have here, like we do here, and, whether that's going to take, like you said, families, yeah, it's great. But for me, I think you need family, sort of neutral, kind of whatever end, away end, home end, that'll improve it. When she sees things like that coming in, I read someone say, oh, and we can have a back-to-back games. And I thought to myself, if we were in a semi-final, imagine, and we had to wait for some, Chelsea and City to play first then before we played Arsenal, that's going to ruin our day. I don't want it to be, be mixing with Arsenal and with City fans on our big day for playing Arsenal, things like that. But that's what the women's football want to see. But then we've been trying to push things like that, and we're still not seeing a change. So, I think we need to go to now. I mean, I know Gareth sort of talked about Emma Sanders and what she was saying, and I think I made a comment to her, and she said, we need more atmosphere, we need more rivalries, we need more kind of core fans. And I think you're going to get your core fans. And when we were due to play Liverpool, and it got called off all them many moons ago before there was COVID, they were going to give us an away end. And it didn't hurt anyone. It didn't hurt them. It's what we wanted. We wanted an away end at Liverpool. And all these people on Twitter came out and said, this is disgusting. This is not what women's football is about. But then how many of them turned up at their games? And I think if it's what, a core fan base like United, like Chelsea want, why are you not doing it? I'm hearing talks now, Matt, that there's no dedicated stand in Wembley for Chelsea and Arsenal fans. And then I'm seeing people going, I'm not going to that game if I won't be mixing with if we were playing City, you're telling me I won't be sitting next to no City fan, period. And then when they gave us that away end, that's how it should be. When they're over in that corner, that's the way it should be.
No, I agree.
Football, not friends.
Do you know what I think
we're here to win.
Yeah. Do you know what I think the issue is with the FA Cup final? I think you're on about the same person that I am. And they tweeted Kelly Simmons and said, why can't we have a neutral end, a home end, and away end? And like you said, they didn't want to sit with Arsenal fans. Fair enough. Absolutely valid. But I think for me, because they sell the FA, I mean, obviously this is last year's, but they sell the FA Cup final tickets so many months in advance. What they should do for me is say, right, use lot of going sitting in that end on that side. If you want to be mixing and mingling, you're all sat behind the goal on the left. If you're Arsenal, you sat at the side. If you're Chelsea, you sat in the opposite goal. And at least then there's 3 clear sections so that you've got them lot happy, and you only sell that stand in advance. Then when it gets to the 2 teams at the final, you give them an end or a side or whatever they want to give them, I think, and do it that way. But, like you say there, John Hume says, poor match day experience. And, he's spot on the amount of times. And listen, it's easy for me to sit here and say this because obviously it's our rival team. But I've noticed, and even pre-United, I noticed that the stewards at City are just tossers. Like, literally, I'll put that out there now. And it's like you said, that you went to Bristol. Me and Benny went to Blackburn, and the card machine wasn't working. And they were so apologetic and helpful. And they were like, "Listen, go in the bar, get a drink. We're really sorry it's not working," because they did say, like, no cash. Really sorry, blah blah blah. Come and found us and said, "Oh, here you go. Right, you can come in now," and sorted it out. And it's just things like that make your experience so much better. They could have easily turned around and said, "No, you're not coming in." Obviously it was their fault, but think things like that make it. But Gareth, obviously you were talking, weren't you, about sort of the weather and families, but I just think for me, like I can see what you're saying, but then I think for me it's football. Do you know what I mean? It's played in all weather. Like you're obviously gonna get wet, but if you sit towards the back, obviously it's cold, you wrap up. It's kind of I can understand why families wouldn't go, but then I think kids in school when it's cold and it's wet, so you're not going to school today. You can watch school at home or whatever, do it online. I just think. I don't know how they can do it, but I'll come to you, Anthony, and see if you've sort of got any ideas. Do you think maybe the TV thing then was an easy option based on what we've discussed to sort of think, right, you know what, it's freezing, it's chucking it down, I'll go and chuck on BBC One. Do you reckon that's maybe a hindrance, or do you think that would have still been a low attendance regardless of TV?
It might have brought a few more people out. but I don't think it would have brought many more out. I think it was Arsenal-Brighton. Brighton's not a million miles away from Arsenal, so I'm not sure if their fan base is so big in the women's game. But it's the problem. I don't think it. No, I think if it wasn't on TV, you would have got a few more possibly go, but not a great deal. What I wanted to ask quickly at Wembley, what is the average attendance at Wembley for a women's FA Cup final? Does anyone know?
It varies. I think the average I'd say is about 35k, but I know when I've been once, it was 45k.
I know it's great and everyone wants to play at Wembley, but is it a bit too big currently for a game? I know players dream about playing at Wembley, but if you're getting 35,000, you got. I know Villa Park used to be a neutral. We always used to play in the semi-final there, and that's about 30-something thousand. If you're going to sell 40,000 tickets, why not have it in a stadium where the atmosphere is going to be a bit more? Because Wembley's massive, so if you have 30,000 in a 90,000 seat stadium, it doesn't sound so good atmosphere wise. But then it is a difficult one because it's a reward, isn't it? You want to play at Wembley, so
I think it should be played at Wembley. I know I get where you're coming from, Anthony. I think it should be where it's at for the semi-final. Like I said, Tom Gary said what he said, but I think, for example, the League Cup in the men's is played at Wembley because obviously it can sell that, but they don't play it for the women, which I understand. It is what it is, but I think just FA Cup, it is the most prestigious competition. It's FA's competition, so I do think they should put them both at men's and women's at Wembley. That's what I do think. I mean, even you see with the Lionesses, they don't always play at Wembley. They take them around the road, whereas the men's are pretty much at Wembley if you want to watch the men play England, England international game. Which I think, again, is right, taking, the national women's team around just to try and build up that fan base and, young kids can watch it from all over. But no, I think I get where you're coming from, and I do see.
Yeah,
if you're not selling that much, I do see. Yeah. But then if people are actively saying they don't want to come because they've not got their own end, where's the proactiveness in it? Where's the thinking in it? It doesn't make sense to me. And like you say, Matt, they could easily just block out 10,000 tickets for an Arsenal and 10,000 for a thingy. And then if then more neutrals want to come, then it spills over. Or if you need more whatever, then it spills over. But for me, it would be a travesty because I know Chelsea are good and I know that they would attract a lot more people. Even Arsenal would attract a lot more people. But when we talk about these, what you just said before about TV, I think TV hasn't really affected it. I know, probably it affected one or two families. Oh, it's wet outside. Let's see, come, later January, February. Like what Gareth says, it happens. Though we always seen it, and I think where I say that TV hasn't affected it is that we're getting a regular 2K. And then obviously there was a big boost. I think we did see it even when we played Liverpool. There was that big boost, and we got up to about 3-point-something K. And then obviously we played City 3-point. I think it was 9 or 8K. Yeah, versus City. So we do see that with or without TV. So I don't think the TV has actually hindered it. If anything, I think it's going to probably help it. We saw 1 million people watching the derby. So I think that's sort of going to help it. It's going to help it attract commercial, all that kind of thing. I just generally do think that it's a case of, someone approached me when they were watching Man United and said, "Oh, the atmosphere, at Old Trafford, LSV is different from elsewhere." I think you touched on us and Chelsea being the sort of ones that are around those high numbers, and you see a lot of flags at Chelsea. You hear a lot of singing. What I did when they play Wolfsburg. Whereas other areas, you don't really hear that. And I think we need more of that. We need more vocal fans, more sort of dedicated fans. I don't know, it's easy me sitting there saying that, but I think they do need to now market it towards men's fans, really. You know, I know people don't want it turning into, you know, the men's game. We don't want these fans, but, you know, I think you're sitting there with 3K or whatever many K. It's not good enough. So you have to sort of branch it out beyond little girls and families, you know? Why can't Gareth Cormer or Gareth's mates or my mates who've never watched football, you know, because I've got mates who've never watched football because they're worried about racism, sexism, homophobia, but they support Man City. So why not branch out to someone like that? They don't want to go men's football. They are City fans or United fans or whatever fans. Come and watch women's game. It's different. It's more relaxed. It's more chilled. But it's still Man City. It's still that same passion. It's still that same pride. You know, I want you to come and join us. I don't know.
You touch on branching out the men's, but that's the problem half the time. There's a lot of men in this world like, oh no, it's women's football. God, they can't play football.
What I will say, my mate is a woman, so branch out to sort of women as well.
Like
women men's fans, people who watch Premier League every day, branch out to them. You know,
do you reckon? Is it just a men mentality that say that stuff, or do you reckon there's actually women in the men's game?
Oh, no, I reckon there's women in the men's game that say that, you know, I know. But then I think we have the bridge and the gap show and all that. But I think, you know, Connor's someone, I'm not saying he had that mentality, never watched it before. Yeah, exactly. Fell in love. I'd never watched it before. You'd never watched it before, Anthony. Fell in love. Yeah. But I didn't fall in love with the women's game. I fell in love with my team, my badge, my club. And that's all I think it is. Just come and watch it once, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to quickly touch on what John said here. I think, you know, that Forest Derby game, 4,500 people went to watch it, which was fantastic. But I think it is difficult to compare those one-off games inside the men's stadiums to like the regular games. You know, we saw City when they played us at the Etihad. At that point, it was a record attendance in women's football. You know, and Spurs later on that season when they played Arsenal at the Spurs stadium, then that was you know, that broke the record again. So yeah, I think, you know, people are obviously interested and people obviously go to watch these games, but people then don't go back. I think people see it as kind of like a one-off, a day out, and see what happens. But then people aren't necessarily coming back. Like we said, you know, I think Forest, when we went to see Forest against Burnley, Matt, there must have been, 100, 150 people there tops.
Something like that, yeah.
So, you know, I think playing in these massive stadiums is great. And the FA Cup, I wonder if actually part of this is the fact that this competition has taken 2 seasons to complete, and obviously that shouldn't be a reason. And if we were still in the tournament, we'd still, you know, we'd be packing it out and we'd be loud and we'd be there wherever. But like an FA Cup final in December just seems so strange. Like in 2019, they were set to break the 50k tickets barrier, which would have been a record again. But yeah, I wonder if it's just part of it. It just feels weird to me that there's going to be an FA Cup final in a month, and then 5 months later there's going to be another one.
I mean, they've obviously done it because it's the anniversary, isn't it? It's 100 years since women's football was banned, so obviously they were desperate to fit it in somewhere. So I suppose, like you say, it's not ideal, but I mean, where do you actually shove it? Because they're obsessed with that many breaks. I mean, look at ours now. We have to all have a break at the weekend in the WSL just because of this semi-final that served up, well, 2 piss-poor attendances and a bad atmosphere, to put it bluntly. You know, I can't get my head around it. And I tweeted this on the day. Like, I can't understand how, one, you can't turn up to an FA Cup semi-final, you know, whether it's ideal or not. I couldn't care me. I went to a Conti Cup final midweek on a Wednesday evening, you know, because, I mean, okay, it was free, but that's not the point, you know what I mean? Still made the effort to travel midweek to support a player. And I just can't understand it. Same with the atmosphere, which I'm going to move on to now. I'll start with you, Nax. I know obviously you're sort of big on atmospheres and things, but I don't know if you caught either game, but when I watched it, I was not really impressed. So Chelsea were okay, but...
I was driving all day, or when I wasn't driving, I was in the game myself. And you know what? I just want to touch on atmosphere, and I want to big up Shahan and Bristol. I'm sure he'll watch, or if I tell him I bigged him up. But he was singing his songs, and yeah, sometimes we hear songs we think, what the hell, what's that? But he was singing his songs, and I think you just need one other person to join in with you. That's all it is. That one other person. Yeah, because that was me at Villa. I was that one person singing a song. Me at Sheffield, I was that one person singing that song. And you just need that one other person to join in with you. Then there's two of you singing a song. Then you need that one other person, and there's three of you singing a song. And then next minute, you're the majority, not the minority, you know? And I just think it just takes those one or two people just to... So I just want to big him up because he was singing his songs, and, you know, he should carry on. He shouldn't stop. You sing them non-stop, constantly. And, you know, I stopped singing at Sheffield because I was the only one singing on my own. And Rachel Brown said, you can't stop because the players, it means so much. And like what Anthony said about, then I say after every game, oh, the fans. It's like, you know what they're going to say before they've even said it, you know? And I don't know if anyone's seen what Shivy's put about Kirsty Hanson, and she used to be shy. And I've actually watched that little video clip, and it was the fans, they don't know how much it means and all this. But like you said, it was just one or two of us singing the songs. And now it's, you know, the whole stand. And I just think people need to just see it and move with it, do it, because then that encourages more people. Because then I've had people who said, not even supporting Man United, but they just come because they saw us singing and like, I want to be part of that. I want to be. You can see how much it affects. You know, it's great to see, and I just think with atmosphere, people just now we need to, because you know I had a resistance when I was first singing. You know, and now it's sort of a norm, and Chelsea are doing it and this and that, and you know what? I don't even care if you hear one of a United song and change it into your own player. Good, do it, run with it. You know, we need it. That's how men's football works. You hear a song, oh, that was a good song, oh, let me change it. You know, just go it. Just even if it's just shouting your team's name, you know, shouting a player's name, it means so much that it affects the game. You see how it works. You know, I think. Yeah, I'm going to bring myself up, but you know, we were singing Amy Palmer's name before, during, after, and then she went on and was like player of the match. And I'm not saying that's what led to it, but no, but you know, that would have been a big boost to her, hearing her name being chanted throughout the whole game. And before, when they were in the tunnel, before they came out, and then we were all singing Amy Palmer's name. Of course, she's going to feel boosted from that. So, you know, you support your team, you want them to win, and you know, shouting, atmosphere. That what makes it even better. And then, you know, away games, you know, if they know that we're coming all Spurs and they know it's going to be loud, and then like we said, there's things like I've heard, even when we go away, we know we're at home because the fans are always there singing our name. Even if we're outnumbered, we'll still shout louder than the rest. You know, it doesn't matter. And that's just what I'd say to any fan of any team. Shout a name, sing a song. You know, and then once you're doing it constantly, someone's going to join in because they're going to think, oh, well, that looks good. And 2 or 3 turns into 10 or 6, turns into the whole stand. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. No, it's spot on. It's interesting. Do you know one thing that really bugs me is when the fans, or certain fans, should I say, not the fans, certain fans, have this attitude of we're the best, and you hear absolutely naff all, like you hear nothing. I'm sure you can all probably know where that's aimed, but I'm going to come to you, Gareth, and I'm looking at Rebecca's comment here. Obviously, Rebecca says, in terms of atmosphere, consistent chants even in away games, United number 1, Chelsea 2, Arsenal better at home. Now, that's probably correct. I mean, I only heard Arsenal from watching it. Obviously, never been to Bournemouth. Sat near their fans at the Villa game, but and there was nothing there. But in terms of at home, I don't know what do you think on that? Because for me, I didn't think they were a great Sunday, to be fair, at home.
No, I think they're right. I think they are the top 3. I think I would say that Arsenal probably 3rd within that. I think when we sat near the Arsenal fans at Villa, they tried, but they would just kind of say
It's one word.
They would kind of chant something, and then that was it, and there was nothing. And yeah,
Can I just add something? I'm really sorry, Gareth, for cutting you up.
Yeah,
I didn't want to do this, but
Come back to him.
everyone always tries when we come. That's what I noticed. Everyone always tries. So the minute I moved next to you and they heard me standing up and singing, they were like, oh, let's stand up and sing. And that's what I mean. Even when we went Leicester, everyone wanted to shout louder. And I'm sure you boys have been Leicester when we've not been there. But the minute we started songs, let's shout Leicester, Leicester. But the thing is, though, that's good. And that's why you should then divide it and then shout across stands. But yeah, that's all I want to say on that.
Go on, Gareth. Pick back up, and then I'll come to
I
Anthony.
was just to say, I think clubs are getting there. It's taking time. I think a lot of clubs are kind of where we were in 2018 and are 3 years behind. And there are, a lot of clubs now are at the point where it's not, and everyone's kind of turning around going, what on earth is she doing? And then gradually more and more people are kind of going over there. And I think we're seeing that now with a lot of other clubs. There's one or two people that are trying to start something, and gradually more and more people are going to move over. We've seen at Leicester there's now a specific section for their supporters club to be able to book tickets in, and I think that's a fantastic move for them. I think we're starting to see atmosphere build up. It's just we're so much further ahead of where everybody else is in terms of having those songs and having those fans that are going to sing those songs and songs for every player. That whenever we look at other clubs, it's like, well, there's just nothing there. But I think they get in there. They're just taking a lot longer than we did in order to do it. But hopefully, having things like the supporters clubs all sitting together and kind of having a group of like-minded, passionate fans together is only going to be a good thing. And hopefully, that brings with it atmosphere.
I just want to say though as well. I know someone else is going to. That's what they need to do. That's what clubs need to encourage. If Leicester have done that, that's great for them. Obviously, we've got it where we've just done it naturally. But yeah, clubs need to encourage it. Need to encourage sections for fans to go there, because then you meet up with like-minded fans. We were lucky we just started, but now if you think people just want to do it now, there might be little pockets. So that's why, fair play if they've done that. That's good.
Yeah, to be fair, that was actually going to be my question. I know, Anthony, you've got to shoot off shortly, but I was going to say that too. Do you think clubs could maybe help it? Gareth mentioned Leicester, and obviously some clubs provide clappers, but do you think maybe clubs should be jointly responsible as well as fans themselves?
Yeah, definitely. Because the more people you're getting in, the more income they're getting. It's not just the ticket sale income, is it? It's the programs you buy and the food and drink you get. I'm not so sure if that goes to the club, obviously the food and drink stuff, but the programs and that definitely. And I get that everyone might not want to sing, but like you said with Leicester, the clappers, I know not everyone's a fan of it, but
no, but it's a start.
If the kid doesn't want to sing, or they're too shy to sing, then there's that bit of atmosphere, shaking that, and they still hear it over top, even though we have got Nat shouting her, because you can't even the clappers wouldn't stop that. Even me at some points is obviously I peaked too early though. Well, I did at Leicester, but. No. They definitely can help. Like, it's just there's a lot still to happen. Like, there's certain things that can help with. Like, we talk about our own sections and that, and this is what we do want. But it is a tough one, isn't it? You're trying to get the numbers up, so based on that, it's just like advertising more and that. And I know some news, but obviously it will come out soon, hopefully, but I can't say anything. But hopefully that when it will encourage people to come to games at LSV with it'd be brilliant if we can sell out LSV. Could you imagine that getting I know people say about giving tickets away to kids. I know we mock City for that, but if maybe if you do get a school come and half of them United fans, and they go home, oh yes, I really enjoyed it, Mum, I really enjoyed it, Dad, can we go again? So you can get new fans in through that as well. So, but no, there's definitely things they can do.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Anthony. I know you've got to shoot, so we'll let you get on. I just want to put this up on cheers, Anthony.
Take care. Yeah, no worries. Take care, guys.
Oh, just want to put that up there. Sort of Chris is asking what can clubs do. Don't know if you want to go first, Nat, and then we'll sort of
I mean,
expand on obviously what we mentioned as well.
Yeah, we just said like Leicester, they've created a singing section. It's something that I think we would love at United, you know, and I think we sort of developed our own singing section. Everyone knows it's there, but you know, being able to buy into it, you know, encourage fans who want to add to the atmosphere to go in there, you know, go in together, like-minded fans. The clappers, if people don't want to sing that, you know, even like we've got our songbook, you know, pushing that. I think the club actually do it good. Now, like they're doing a lot of, you know, putting the song words and stuff on their social medias, stuff like that. Songs over the tenors that relate to the fans chant. John said there that was a great thing because I don't think they did it on purpose. Bristol, but they started playing da, 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 da. So I started going, no apartment, and then that's just what caused it. And then next minute, I'm sure next week, if the same people are there and they play that again, that's what they'll sing. So that's it. And, you know, you can hear what picks up. I went to Liverpool, Chris was there, Liverpool versus Villa to go and support Wardy for my sins. And they played You Never Walk Alone before the game, and then everyone was loud then, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's things like that. If you've got like an anthem, they should play out both. You know, I don't know what they do at other teams. I just know, you know, this is the one. United, it'd be good if it was at LSV, things like that, you know. Make you feel like you're just in this. I know it's different stadiums, but make you feel like it is the same. And I know they want to build it up, and people say organically, we do want to do it like this, but I think we've had that period of organically now, and I think that's sort of Emma's sort of tweet related to. We've had that period where we've done it all organically. We've got up to the point where we're on Sky, where we're getting 1 million audience viewers in. Bang, we need bigger crowds now, and I think we've shown we can do it on BBC Live, whatever, BBC One, and on Sky getting good numbers. So now, why aren't you coming in? What's going to make you come in? And I think people go to a game. I go to Old Trafford, not because, you know, I could sit at home and watch it, but 75,000 people go to Old Trafford because of the atmosphere. You know what I mean? And I just think it's time that we bring it in now. And you know, like you said, it is nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking to stand up and sing on your own, you know, but I think, you know, people, it was supposed it was easy for us to think, but I think, like you said, singing sections, clubs need to start pushing things like that now. And, you know, Leicester, obviously, whether they spoke to the fans or the fans have said they wanted it and they've done it, bang, that's what you need. You know, you need to listen to your fans. So when Chelsea and Arsenal fans are saying, I'm not going to go because I've not got my own end, why is this stuff, even at the first game of the season, Chelsea fans were saying, why haven't we got an away end for Arsenal? Every other big game had an away end. Why haven't we got an away end? Is it left down to us to do it? You know, we block book for Leicester, and then next minute we were with Leicester fans. It's not really what you want, and I get it. They want to open up certain parts of the ground. But, you know, we're going into Tottenham. We're all just sort of going to be in one stand. It's not, you know, I get it, but I liked it as well. When I saw it, we think they didn't really have it stewards, but you sort of knew one was City, one was United, even though you're in the same stand. And I think LSV do it right like that. I like it. They'll bring back bands.
He's right.
No.
Bloody drums are the bane of our life.
I think you need to to listen to what the fans are saying. If the fans are saying, give us an away end, give us singing sections, it's simple. I don't know why there's that resistant to it. I don't get it. Whether they're frightened that it's going to be like then the men's instantly, I don't know. But let's be serious now. Let's take the game serious. You know, away ends are normal in football. It doesn't mean you have to have police stewards or escorts in. No. And then when it, you know, but you should be able to sit with your own supporters.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's spot on, you know, and like you say, that sort of links in, and like hopefully what you've said has sort of answered Chris's point. But I think just to add to that as well, you know, like you say, clubs chat. I think it was actually to be fair to them, it was the Leicester fans that said, you know, we're struggling, we're at the bottom, we need more of an atmosphere. They went to the club and said, listen, our members have said this, we all want to sit together. Can you book rows A, B, C, and D in this block? And that's what they've done, and they've given like all the members a little code, you know, to type it in so that members can actually all be sat and things like that. Like you say, talking to fans, you know, having fans sat together, having that communication. You know, I think of Palace in the Championship, and I know Nat, you talked about this the away game, and you sort of said, you know, they give it us back and they roll together. And I think it's just getting those core fans together, whether that's something that the club do. Or the fans.
And I just want to touch on that as well, because it made me laugh. And you just put something else in my head. That game, they were giving Chivy pelters like nothing. They were booing her every touch. They were all like, hey, they were calling her England reject. They were slagging her off. But this is what I'm saying. Someone's come to our ground and got booed and got pelters. And suddenly, it's the end of the world. Who cares, mate? You rise to it. And I remember hearing Chivy getting all this pelting, and it led to the 5, 6, you know, I think there's about 20 of us behind at the side of the pitch, and we all started singing Chivy's name. And then Chivy ended up winning, and then turning around and being like, I'm the winner here. You know, I think there's ways that you respond to things like booing or hostile chanting. And I think if someone was chanting against our player, I know the way we would respond. Whereas other people want to go and moan about it and say it's not right and this and that, but then that's never going to lead to
it's interesting because that happened to Chivy at Tranmere, the very first game when we played Liverpool and won 1-0. And there was about 10, 15 people all giving her aggro behind the goal. And then when we won, she turned around and exactly the same was like that in the face, isn't that you say?
That's it.
You know, we play Liverpool at LSV and some of them are just like you say, don't like the booing, but yeah, but just to finally add before I move on and bring Gareth in for Spurs, I think another thing as well, you know, you mentioned about chants. I think for me, if any club or supporters group has chants, you know, my advice would be try and speak to your club, because for me, giving out songbooks is great if you can do it, but sometimes it's not physically possible. So I think if the club can say, right, you know, either quote tweet the article or the link or post somewhere where these fans can get these chants until they know them, then that's another way. But I do think, like you said, Nat, you know, away ends, grouping fans together, whatever, just speak. Clubs need to speak to their supporters, because at the minute that's what's lacking. You know, there's supporter clubs out there, many different clubs doing great things, and I think the breakdown is the communication for me personally. Going to move on, Gareth, and we're going to talk Spurs just for the last sort of 5-10 minutes. Sunday's game, 3rd versus 4th. I didn't think I'd ever be sat here on a show saying, well, 1, we're behind Tottenham, and 2, it's 3rd versus 4th. But obviously, we look at Spurs, and they've won 4 out of 5 games. Not scored too many, but they've only conceded 3 as well. How do you see Sunday going then? Because it's not as straightforward as it maybe sounds, or this year.
No, but I think Spurs are in a false position in the league at the moment. If you look at the games that they've had this season, started their season with a scrappy win against Birmingham. They've also played, you know, Leicester, who are struggling. They lost against Brighton. Let's grab the fixtures. But yeah, so their fixtures during the season are those where, you know, they're playing the sides that they should be beating. So they beat Birmingham, they've beaten Reading, they've beaten Leicester, they've beaten City, but you know, there was a lot of other circumstances around that game. You know, Spurs played really, really well. I think that's the only game where they've been properly tested and won the game. So, yeah, I think they are in something of a false position. But, you know, also, they've won those games. They've gone into those games and they've won them. Whereas other teams haven't gone to City and won. So, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think we definitely should have the strength and the quality of player to be able to come out on top and get all 3 points. But I think we're going to enter a period now where Spurs will probably find the level that they're at. If you look at their next few games, they're playing us this week. They've got Arsenal the week after. They've got West Ham away at the end of the month, and then a Villa and Everton again before the winter break. So, I think they're the games really where, come the time we break for winter, I think they'll probably kind of be sixth-ish after things have shuffled around. Do you imagine that Villa could potentially beat them? West Ham at the moment seem to be playing pretty well, could probably pick up a point or so there. Arsenal and us, I think you expect us to be favourites there. So, I think it's going to be a good game, definitely, and it's not a game that we should be going into sort of taking lightly. But I also think that their start to the season has been a pretty favourable one. And it's about whether it's been a long time without playing football. It's been 3 weeks off. So, it depends whether they can kind of pick up where they left off. But I think it's going to be tough for them to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll get a quick score prediction off you, Gareth, before moving on to Nat, and then we'll end it there. Because I know Champions League's coming on.
Yeah, I think 2-1 United.
2-1 United. Okay. Natalie, very briefly on Spurs, or unless you just want to give me a score prediction.
I think it'll be a tough game. I'm confident, though, going into it. I've seen a few people saying they're worried. I get why you're worried. They're obviously, like you say, Gareth, they've won the games. I mean, I know people were like, they beat City, this and that. But, City had hundreds of chances. I think City are in a bit of a rut. I know people were disappointed we didn't beat City. No one was probably more disappointed than the players and us, and you know what I mean? But I think games like Spurs, this is where we win it. This is not in a horrible way to Spurs, no disrespect, but it's like our bread and butter. We sort of always beat Spurs. I know you can't take it for granted, but we should be beating Spurs. We should be beating Birmingham. We should be beating, Brighton's sort of maybe more a bogey team for us than Spurs. We should be winning these games. Reading, all those kind of games, what we should be winning. It's when it's the top ones that we sort of, it can take us a bit more. I'm confident 3-1 Man United.
3-1. Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna go for 2-0 win. I think I've got to be. I saw them at Leicester, and I didn't think they were anything special. I think it was just Leicester's own doing for the reason why they were not really tested. And like you sort of said, Gareth, apart from City, where City were wasteful, if that was City's full team, they win. So yeah, we'll go with that. Come to the end of the show, so thank you to you both for joining me and Anthony too. Quick shout out for your show, Gareth, as well from John. If anybody hasn't seen that, check it out. Tomorrow as well, 7 p.m. Check out our very own Natalie with Naomi Hartley, and check out Twitter for the rest of the schedule. Cheers, thank you.